We are working to get you more information. We do have crews on the scene, but again, an active shooter in Watts Lab. And for those of you not familiar with this part of campus, this is North Campus, as we used to call it back when I was there, North Campus.
And they're telling folks, as you can see right there, they are absolutely just turning people around right there, High and Lane. The traffic there is empty because they are telling people to stay off of that area right there, Woody Hayes and Tuttle Park Drive. That's just an about face. They're telling people to turn right around. You can see active presence making their way onto campus. This is minutes into what came across our newsroom into the digital broadcast center here just before 10 a.m. telling us that there was an active shooter. Reports came out from right there on campus, Watts Hall, College and 19th. Are the streets exactly where Watts Hall is, and a lot of, like you said, Tracy, engineering buildings in that place, but a confirmed shelter and place situation, telling folks to be as safe as possible, get away from those areas, and if you're traveling out there, don't plan on traveling to those areas anytime soon right now.
We are working to get our chopper up to get a view for you over the scene, and you see one of our reporters, I just saw her on the scene and running to call in some information to our digital broadcast center.
And we are seeing the same pictures for the first time that you are seeing right now. This is live and raw video that we are getting, and Maureen Kosat is coming with some new information there. You can see.
And I just sprinted about 2 blocks from the Lane Avenue parking garage. We're going to show you the area we're talking about. That is where law enforcement's focus seems to be right now. Just moments ago, we saw a heavy presence of cruisers flying in, lights and sirens, SWAT officers jumping out of unmarked vehicles with their rifles running into that parking garage. Now, we also just heard an overhead announcement just a few moments ago warning everyone in this area that, quote, there may still be an active shooter on the loose. That is what we know right now. Again, there is a heavy presence here. Columbus, Franklin County, Upper Arlington, OSU police. We do see some students right now, if you look across the street here, who are clearly being evacuated from one of the nearby buildings. I talked with a few students who were inside some of the area campus buildings when all this was going down. They told us they really didn't know anything. They were just told to get out. So again, what we're dealing with right now is a report of shots fired. That is what police initially responded to.
The Buckeye alert issued about this active shooter. People are being told to run, hide, fight. Again, this happening at Watts Hall, 19th and College, as you see on the full screen map there.
Hey, I do have new information for you. I want to get out of the way so that you can continue to watch what is happening, but I did speak with a very high-ranking member of law enforcement. 8 people have gone to the hospital. We are told that 7 of those people are stabilized. 1 person is in critical condition. That means that injury is considered life-threatening. We have also confirmed with several high-ranking sources now that law enforcement did shoot and kill 1 suspect on scene. So I asked, why do we continue to hear this announcement over the loudspeaker that an active shooter could still be out there? I'm told that law enforcement is gathering all kinds of reports from students in the area who report seeing someone with a gun, who report seeing someone running, and at this point they're proceeding with utmost caution, an abundance of caution, just to make sure that they're not dealing with an armed suspect who is still on the loose right now. They're not going to let down their guard or let any students close until they know for sure that the threat is eliminated.
We've been talking about how massive this area is, and to give you a really good look at that, let's go to our colleague Scott Light, who joins us here in studio with a view of the area we're talking about. Scott?
Tracy and Jeff, this is technology that only we have, where we're monitoring a dozen social media sites worldwide in real time, and we can take you to the scene. So you can tell here, Tracy, you talked about that fire alarm. It came in, there it is, 2 hours ago, and it was pulled at Fontana Laboratories right there. So I'm going to go in just a little bit closer and kind of show you where we are, at least from the overhead view here, from a satellite view. This is Watts Hall right here. Jeff was talking about just the layers and sheer numbers of dozens of ambulances and law enforcement first responders that are there. So they basically got Watts Hall blanketed here. So 19th Avenue, up College Road, and then Woodruff Avenue here. But again, Jeff mentioned those numbers. So you've got layers of law enforcement spread out as we continue to kind of show you a little broader view here.
Well, Jeff, we have some good news, and that good news is that OSU Wexner Medical Center has confirmed that the 4 injuries, the 4 people that are being treated here at OSU Wexner Medical Center, they have non-life-threatening injuries. Again, that good news, non-life-threatening injuries being treated here, 4 people here at OSU Wexner Medical Center.
Right now, I understand that we can go to an OSU student on the phone right now. Joseph Knoll is his name. Joseph, can you tell me where you were when you first heard what was going on, and what was it that you heard?
Yeah, I was on Woodruff, so that's the street that's across from where this happened.
Yeah.
And basically, I was walking to class, and I just heard a bunch of people screaming, and then a lot of people running, and I talked to a person who was struck by a car, and she told me that the fire alarm was pulled in Watts Hall, and that there was a car waiting for them, and it just like plowed through some people.
And they were hit by that car, Joe?
Yeah, they were hit by a car. That's how everyone was injured. It was definitely terrifying because I just heard some screams, and then I saw people running, and at first I thought it was some sort of game or something, until like I could just see everyone's face, and it was like really scary, and everyone just fled the scene immediately, and yeah, it was terrifying to say the least.
The Buckeye alert went out at 9:56. That Buckeye alert read, active shooter, run, hide, fight. Talking about it now is OSU President Dr. Michael Drake. We're getting the cameras situated. He's getting into place. Let's listen in.
A vehicle ran into a group of pedestrians, people gathered on the street corner, resulting in several injuries. The driver then got out and used a weapon to cut several people who were then transported to local hospitals.
Let me just start from the top, and maybe it will answer some of your questions. About 9:52 a.m., a male suspect drove a vehicle over the curb, West 19th, west of College Avenue, struck pedestrians. He exited the vehicle and used a butcher knife to start cutting pedestrians. Our officers was on scene in less than a minute, and he ended the situation less than a minute. He engaged the suspect, and he eliminated the threat. The suspect is DOA. The investigation is ongoing. I want to thank officers for doing a great job. They did what they were trained to do.
We received a number of wounded individuals here at Ohio State. We also received word from our colleagues at Grant and at Riverside that they had received wounded individuals. We actually had great collaboration and coordination between the systems when it comes to events like this. We trained for these events. Here at Ohio State, we received 5 wounded individuals from the scene, 2 with stab wounds and 2 with wounds related to being hit by the car. And we've just received a 5th victim who was actually hiding in place, as they had been directed to do by the Buckeye alert, who actually just arrived here at the medical center not that long ago, and her injuries are still being assessed.
Let's go to Shelby Croft right now. She's been talking to students this morning. Shelby, what can you tell us?
Well, let me show you first where we are. We are right outside Watts Hall. Now, this is where all of the action took place that we've been hearing about today. As you can see, still a very large police presence in this area. Now, probably about the last hour, we have seen students and staff finally coming out of Watts Hall, and these are all people who witnessed what took place. They told me, as we've been reporting, that they were initially outside because of a fire alarm, and this is what they told me they saw after that.
So as soon as I heard gunshot, I looked up outside, and I saw suspect down. He was down. He was shot. And I also saw victims.
What did you think when all this was going down?
It's not real. You go numb. It's not supposed to happen. Sorry.
10 TV News at 5 begins with new information on breaking news at The Ohio State University. Police say this is the man who launched an attack on students and staff this morning. 10 TV has confirmed that Abdul Razak Ali Artan was shot and killed by police. Police say he is responsible for injuring 11 people either by ramming them with a car or slashing them with a butcher knife.
Again, Abdul Razak Ali Artan is dead, shot by a police officer. This all started around 9:30 this morning outside Watts Hall. We have a live look for you at that scene right now, courtesy of Chopper 10. And as you can see, that live look shows the car used by the attacker in this case. And we are learning that a hero has emerged in this tragedy. OSU police tweeted this picture of Officer Alan Harushko. They say he is the one who shot and killed Abdul Razak Ali Artan this morning.
Now, our reporters are stationed throughout OSU and Columbus to tell our story. But first, a timeline on how this crime unfolded. Police swarmed the campus of Ohio State University as word got out of an attack at Watts Hall, which houses the Department of Materials Science and Engineering. First reported as a shooting, police say a more complex picture of the attack has now emerged.
We are right by where all this happened. Take a look behind me. That is Watts Hall. And if you look to the left there where that sign is for Watts Hall, right behind it is where the suspect drove his car up on the sidewalk and into a crowd of people. Now, we talked to students and staff who are right in the middle of it all.
The crowd of people started panicking, and I hear an engine revving.
Martin Schneider was sitting behind that crowd. They'd all evacuated Watts Hall when the fire alarm sounded.
And a car comes through the crowd, hits a couple of students. About a minute later, the guy comes out of the car with a knife, starts swinging it at students. He didn't mess around. He just went right after people.
As the car crashed by a concrete planter, many were heading back inside. They watched in horror and shock.
The bang, the dust cloud, some shouting, like screaming, and people just booking it in every direction. 30 seconds, a minute later, the 3 gunshots.
It's scary. It was really scary.
Everyone on campus was told to shelter in place. Students and staff huddled inside the engineering buildings and watched as law enforcement swarmed in.
It's not supposed to happen.
We are getting new information by the minute on today's attack.
10 TV's Nathan Baca at OSU Wexner Medical Center, where doctors and investigators have an update. Nathan.
Well, Jerry, here at OSU Wexner Medical Center, the sense of shock has given way to a sense of relief here. We had the OSU president, Governor Kasich, Congresswoman Beatty, and many others come up here and talk about just their relief that there was no victims died in this attack.
Chief, I know you haven't had a chance to speak with Officer Harushko, but can you put us in the moment? He had to make a split-second decision, process it, and act.
Much like the other people that were at the scene, he didn't know what had happened when the car crashed into people and some of the sidewalk area. So he's trying to analyze himself for what just occurred. What do I need to do about it? Do I need to go help, the driver, find out if they're okay? And then all of a sudden was confronted with a deadly situation. And that reaction is the things that we train for all the time, is to be able to react promptly.
Tonight, law enforcement remains on the scene of the suspect's apartment.
10 TV's Tyler Beckham is live in West Columbus. And Tyler, what do you know right now?
Well, I can tell you, Kristen, they are continuing to stand guard here in front of the suspect's townhome just behind me. There's been a heavy law enforcement presence here for at least 6 hours now. Many neighbors were here when law enforcement arrived. Others are just finding out about all this as they get home from work. Some knew Artan well enough to say hello when they'd see him.
Fairly decent person. I mean, he spoke when spoken to, had very nice mannerisms, wasn't rude, wasn't disrespectful. They kept to themselves for the most part.
And we heard from a number of people via social media. Among them, Ohio's Governor John Kasich issued some statements via social media. He was also at a news conference this afternoon. We want to play some of his comments from there.
The campus will reopen tomorrow. The campus is calm. People are getting their confidence back. And Ohio State will be stronger having come through this.
And one of the pastors said here he knows today has brought a little bit of fear and uncertainty to the OSU campus community, but tonight is about being together and letting one another know the community will get through this. There's just a small gathering here at Jacob's Porch. People walked in for a prayer vigil and to light a candle for the victims of the violent act that took place on campus this morning. This is the first vigil of the night planned. Organizers weren't sure if one person or hundreds of people would show up, but either way, tonight is about hope.
Hope that there is hope. Hope that in a world that has disappointed us so much because the world's not the way it's supposed to be, there is still hope in the world. And the way that we find that hope is by coming together, by unity, by love,